I'm aware that my hair is doing very funny things today. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And I was going back through the questions that I didn't get around to answering in my Repot and Chat video the other day, and there were quite a few in regards to career things, acting, why I decided to leave the acting industry, and so I thought I haven't really spoken about it much on my channel, so I thought I would turn this plant chores video into a little story time. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So I probably won't chat as much in detail as I usually do about the specific planty things I'm doing in this video, but if you've got any comments or questions, leave them down below and I will do my best to help. But so my journey with acting, I wanted to be an actor literally from a very, very, very young age, as I'm sure a lot of young people do, and I don't know what it was about it. Something just, I mean at primary school I was quite reserved, quite, I wouldn't say shy, but I don't know, I just didn't really, I didn't like school at all. I didn't fit in, and I found acting kind of indirectly. It probably started where I'd watch movies and then I would find the scripts and I'd print them off and I'd, all alone in my room, learn the lines and I kind of act them out to myself in the mirror and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I really like this. This is really great. And then when I was about 8, I auditioned for a local youth theatre group and started doing little plays and stuff like that, and absolutely loved it. And when I was there, one of the girls was saying that she was going to this open audition for a film called The Golden Compass, which is based on Philip Pullman's first book, I think, in his trilogy called Northern Lights. And when I was younger, I loved the books so much, and the main character, Lyra, was like my dream role at that very young age. And so I begged my mum to let me go, and me and my friend sat up in my room rehearsing the night before, even though we didn't know what we were going to be doing. We were just kind of picking lines out of our hats and reading them to each other and giving each other our best performances. And then we drove to Oxford the following day to go for this audition. And actually, I might put some clips and photos in this video. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how I feel when I'm editing it, but I will put this clip in. We were one of the ones that was interviewed, I say interviewed, very briefly shown in the audition queue. So here is me and her waiting to audition.
I want to be on TV. Yeah, she's very brave, she's quite mischievous.
But I got quite far in that audition process, and there was a point where we thought that I was going to get the part. I think it was the last round of auditions. There was a guy called Anand Tucker directing at the time, and he came up to my mum after the audition and he was just like, we really look forward to seeing Claire again very soon. And my mum was like, oh my god, she's got it. And then we didn't hear anything for, oh my goodness, months and months and months. They'd been really good at keeping in touch beforehand, and all of a sudden just didn't hear anything. And then we heard that the director had changed to a man called Chris White, and I got a letter through saying I hadn't got the part, and I was absolutely devastated. I was so upset, and I somehow managed to get hold of the number of one of the casting directors, Lucy Bevan, who is, I mean, she's one of the biggest casting directors in the UK, and I can't believe I managed to get hold of her number. I obviously don't have it anymore. But I would bombard her with calls literally all the time, and eventually she gave me an extra part in the film. I literally am just in it like here and there very briefly, and that really, I think, was the thing that sparked my passion for acting. I was on the set and I was like, oh my goodness, I was like, I just want to be here all the time. It was such an incredible experience. As I say, I know it was an extra role. It really wasn't anything that exciting, but I was just in awe of it. So yeah, after that I started contacting, again, I was only I don't know, 10, 11, 12, like very young. I started writing to agents, and I did manage to get myself a little agent, not the best agent in the world. One, in fact, that I think nowadays I would probably steer very clear of, because you had to pay money and all that sort of stuff, which you should never have to do for a decent agent. And I didn't get any auditions with her at all either, but it made me feel like I was an actor and that I was achieving stuff. So that was very exciting for me. And then as I got older and I studied drama at school and at college, again, I wasn't really a fan of it there. Some of the drama facilities were really great and teachers were good, but I don't know, I I think just the whole school college environment just never really clicked with me very well, and I don't know, it wasn't a particularly happy time for me. But I started thinking about drama school, and I auditioned for drama school when I was 18, so I was still at college, and I got onto a foundation course at RADA, which is a really great drama school in London, and I went there and had the time of my life. Oh my goodness, it was just so great, and I really got to, that's the first time I feel like I got to kind of properly explore as an actor, because we were thrown all of these like ridiculous challenges and exercises and things that I had never ever experienced before, and it was just absolutely amazing, and just kind of confirmed that I was in the right place. I finally felt like I'd found somewhere that I kind of fitted, and the buzz, I honestly cannot explain the buzz that I get from acting. I mean, even to this day, I'm not in the industry anymore. It is a passion that will never die inside me. It's just incredible, and I met some of my best friends in the world on my foundation course, and it was just fabulous. And I left that, and then I worked for a couple of years in the industry. I actually, ironically, was doing better then than I did after I went to do my 3-year degree at drama school, which is, I don't know, it's very strange. I often think to myself, looking back, should I have just carried on working then instead of going back to drama school? But we'll get on to that in a minute. But yeah, I had some really amazing gigs when I first left RADA. Not the biggest part, but my favourite out of all of them, I got a gig at the Globe, which was a very small part, but the Globe is this incredible open-air Shakespearean theatre in London, and I will honestly never forget, like, it's one moment in my life that I feel like it's probably like pinnacle. I remember there's always this thing called the jig at the end, which is basically old Shakespearean dance. Everybody just kind of, it's a choreographed little thing, and it's so much fun. And I remember finishing the jig, and the roar from the audience, it was just, I mean, like, I feel I've got goosebumps just talking about it. It was absolutely incredible, and I just remember standing there being like, oh my god, I'm in my element. I never want to leave the stage. I never want to stop standing here. It just felt so fantastic. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think that is the thing that kept me in the industry for as long as I was in it. The buzz that you get from it is like nothing else. It's like a drug. It's absolutely crazy. And I did some other jobs around that time as well, some really nice little jobs, and I think then I kind of started to realise how, I mean, I'd always been told how brutal the industry could be, and I know when I was younger, saying that I was going to go into acting, everyone was like, oh, you got to have a thick skin for that, and I was like, I know, but there's no one in the world can tell you these things and make you hear them until you actually experience them for yourself, if that makes sense. Like, I had everybody telling me that it was going to be difficult, and I was getting auditions at that time. I was penciled for a while for a Channel 4 project, and I remember, and this was the moment that I was just like, oh, I remember I had my final round audition. The casting director had been he'd pretty much said to me, you've got this. He was like, if you smash this, then you've got this. And after the audition, he was like, and I was like, oh my god, I've got it. And again, it was another one that, I mean, this is just classic. Sometimes I'm forgetting to do planty things, I'm just chatting. It's so common to just not hear anything ever again. And with this one, I really thought that I would hear, because it was a final round audition, and it went months, absolutely no update. And then I remember the way that I found out I hadn't got it is I was standing next to a bus stop, and I saw the poster for it on the bus stop, and I was like, oh, right, well, I guess I didn't get that one. And that is literally just one example out of so many. I remember in that time as well, there were a couple of things that I was penciled for, and again, really nice jobs, and then I would find out that somebody much bigger, like a bigger name, had got it, or they just decided to go a different way but hadn't bothered to tell me. It's really sad. It's such a shame, because not just the work that goes into everything as an actor, but the constantly putting yourself out there, and a lot of the time not feeling like it's respected is, and sorry, like, I know I wouldn't have said this about a year ago, but now that I've kind of stepped away from it, I'm kind of having all these realizations about how much I almost had to put myself on the back burner sometimes, because the work I was doing was not being appreciated. And it is definitely not an industry that you can just work and at some point you'll make it. It just doesn't work like that. And there's so many incredibly talented people. I've got incredibly talented friends that I think should be working and aren't. And so, yeah, that was obviously disheartening, but I was still just like, okay, this is just how it works. It's fine, it's fine. And I was still auditioning for 3-year courses at that point as well. And then I got into a drama school called Lambda that is also really fantastic. And my very naive brain at that point was like, right, well, you've made it now, because although you absolutely do not have to go to drama school to be an actor, this is one that, I mean, it's hard to get into. There were only 10 girls in our whole year, and I really thought to myself, right, well, if you're working now, then it's going to be incredible when you come out. And it was just, I mean, I could not have predicted how it would have all played out, but I had the most amazing 3 years there. It was, God, it was hard, it was challenging, but it was incredible. I met friends for life again and learned a lot about myself. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I'd kind of had a taster of in my foundation course, I was able to really kind of explore in a lot more detail, and I was a lot more ready for a 3-year course then, because I know when I was first auditioning for drama school, a lot of people were saying, oh no, you need more life experience. And I would kind of think, oh, for goodness sake, what does that mean? Like, I've got life experience, I've been through this and that and all that sort of stuff. And it's not what they mean at all, but I didn't realise that until much later on. It basically is just having a bit of a grip on your sense of self and being prepared for the fact that when I say it's not easy, it can be brutal. It can be absolutely brutal. I remember one of my directors in my first year at Lambda. If anyone watching this was in my year at Lambda, you will know exactly who I mean. But I remember she gave me one of the main parts in this kind of, it wasn't a public performance at that time. All your performances are closed until 3rd year. But she gave me the main part in this kind of in-house play that we were doing, and I was really struggling with the role that she'd given me. And she just stood up in rehearsal one day and she was like, I gave this part to you because I thought you could take it and clearly you can't, and just stormed out of the room. And I was like, oh my God. And I don't think I slept for about 2 weeks after that, because I was just like, how can I nail this? How can I nail this? And it was fantastic, but you did have to be very, very prepared for the fact that anything, like any insecurity, any habits that you might have as an actor, they would be called out. And that was really hard at times, because obviously they're your safety blanket. But I think that's kind of the point of drama school. They want to kind of rid your safety blanket a little bit so that you can grow as an actor. But yeah, I had the most incredible 3 years there. And although I said before, maybe in hindsight, I wouldn't have gone to drama school at that time, I don't regret it at all. I'm so grateful to have had that experience and to have got to work with the people I got to work with, because especially in 3rd year, which is kind of like, put yourself out there, get an agent year, we got to work with some amazing directors and just do some really cool stuff that, I mean, to be honest, I think for a lot of jobbing actors, you wouldn't get the opportunity to do in the rest of your career, even if you were working all the time. So honestly, I cannot even explain how grateful I am for that. But so in final year, you literally do play after play after play after play, and then you do a film, and then you do a musical, and then you do like the official showcase. And it was all go. I mean, sometimes we'd be rehearsing one play and then finding out our next reps and then getting ready to do that, or be doing a play and then also be learning our lines for a film. And we actually had a really, God, our film was weird. We had a really weird experience with ours, because we were given this script and we had pretty much learnt it, started working on it. And then I think about a week before we started filming, and we only had about 3 days to film the whole thing, they decided to completely change our script. And there were other people that were already filming, and we were like, oh my goodness, what? So our film was rewritten to be about a man who woke up one morning with no arsehole.
Piotr? Piotr, I heard a scream.
Something has happened.
What? You're white as a sheet. Sit down.
No. Something very strange.
And it sounds ridiculous, and it was very dystopian, like almost, I guess, a bit like weird Black Mirror-ish. Or not Black Mirror, it's not to do with technology, but it was just a very strange concept. And I mean, we had a lot of fun filming it, but as I say, you're doing how long was our short film? I think it was probably about 15-20 minutes. And although that doesn't sound like a lot when you've got different locations and all that sort of stuff, it did take quite a while to film, and we did it in such a short amount of time. But we had a right laugh. And then, so yeah, we did the film, we did shows, we did the musical, and then the final showcase itself. So this is basically, we do them as, I think some drama schools do monologues, we just did duologues, and you're paired up with someone else in your year, and you have to together find a duologue or two? No, just one duologue it was when I did it. And you rehearse them, and then there's these showcase nights where you have to write to people in the industry, casting directors, agents, and they can come along and see you, and if you're lucky you get contacted. Getting contacted still doesn't mean that you've signed or anything like that. It just usually means that you've got a meeting or they're showing interest. That was a classic one in final year. I kept getting things from people being like, this agent is interested in you, and I was like, okay, what does that mean? And it wouldn't mean anything apart from that. It just means they're watching you, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, so we did our duologues, and I was really lucky. I signed quite early on with a really, really, really good agent, and I really thought that I would be set. Again, I know this is such a silly thing to say because logically I know that that is not the case. Like, I know that having a good agent or going to a good drama school, anything like that, I know that doesn't mean anything more than it means, really. But I thought, okay, well, this is a good start. And I left, by the way, look at her, isn't she gorgeous? But I graduated drama school, and all of my friends were getting loads of auditions, and I mean, some that hadn't even signed with agents yet were in contact with casting directors from Showcase and stuff like that, and they were kind of getting lots of stuff in, and I wasn't. I literally didn't get any auditions whatsoever. I think maybe I had 2 over the span of about 6 months, which is really quite crazy. And my agent at the time was like, no, it's your headshots. So I must have changed my headshots about 5 times, and headshots are not cheap. If you go to a decent photographer that specializes in that, you're looking at usually about 400-500 quid for a lot of headshots, and that is extortionate. And bearing in mind as well, you're not acting and you're not bringing in money that way. It usually means that you're having to kind of subsidize your passion for acting with a lot of day jobs, many of which are just, I mean, lots of hospitality, lots of temping. Luckily I had editing, so I was freelancing as an editor as well, but there were times where I was working in a restaurant in the day, a bar in the evening, and then coming home and doing an editing job. It was absolutely crazy, and none of it was particularly well paid at that time. So yeah, the frustration of not getting any auditions at all was pretty great. And I was contacting people myself. I was contacting casting directors. I was sending my show reel about. Your show reel is basically a selection of clips of your best work on screen, so that they can kind of get an idea of what you're like and how diverse you are and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know, like, I wasn't getting anything at all. And I found that really, really difficult. I think especially having done my foundation, having worked in the industry and done, I'm not going to say quite well, but worked kind of consistently as an actor, then going to a really great drama school, graduating with a really good agent and not getting anything. It was really hard. I had a really hard time for quite a while. And then I think after about a year, I made the decision to leave that agent and go back to my agent, not the one I spoke about before, but one that I'd had from when I was about 17 up until the point that I went to drama school. And very fortunately, they agreed to take me back on. So it's really difficult because I think, especially, I mean, I was going to say being self-employed. Obviously, being self-employed is difficult because you have to find your own work and all that sort of stuff. But with acting, a lot of the time you have to be very vulnerable for it. And I think the constant, not even no's, but just people not wanting to see you, it feels very personal. Like, it feels a lot more personal than maybe a normal job getting declined might feel. I don't know. But yeah, so then, where are we at now? So then last year, I hadn't had an audition for about 8 months. I was pretty much full-time editing. I had still been contacting people. I'd still be keeping in touch with casting directors that had seen me for stuff in the past, and nothing was really coming of anything. So me and one of my friends who is fantastic and is still in the industry, we decided to compile this huge list of agents, casting directors, all this sort of stuff, put together our own kind of home filmed show reels, kind of like self-tapes, which are what you often send in for auditions, and send them out to everyone, literally everyone. And we spent months putting this list together, and then kind of said to each other, right, you start at the bottom, I'll start at the top, and then we can just kind of go like that. And I must have sent out about 300 emails, and I had my show reel that I'd filmed on Vimeo so I can see how many times it's been played. And to this day, it has about 3 plays. So people weren't even watching it. For me, that was just a point where I was like, okay, I've been doing this a long time and this isn't serving me well at the moment. It's not, I just kind of started thinking maybe this isn't my time. It's not that I want to leave, and it's not that I don't think I will ever come back to it. I've got a lot of friends from drama school who are absolutely smashing it right now, are doing unbelievably well, and I'm so happy for them. But I just started to feel like, okay, all the signs are there, and I know there's always that thing in your brain as an actor saying just, oh, we'll give it a little bit more time, like loads of people go through this and you were never going to be the one to give up. That was one thing when I was at drama school. I think at both RADA and LAMDA, I remember on our pretty much our first days, I remember it very clearly with LAMDA, sitting in a circle and the head of acting coming in and saying to us, you know, probably about 2 of you in this room are going to end up as actors. And again, very naively, I was just like, yeah, well, obviously one of them's going to be me, and just feeling very smug about that. Literally nobody can, as I said earlier, nobody can explain to you what you will have to go through in the industry until you're actually in the middle of it. And I think this is one thing actually that drama schools could do a lot better. And in fact, I mean, just kind of like general acting workshops or anything like that. Because when we were at drama school, they were always bringing in people like success stories, people that were doing really well and all this sort of stuff to talk to us. Oopsie. We would have people coming in and saying things to us like, you know, I had to go on about 20 auditions before I got my first job and all of that sort of stuff. And while in some respects, yes, that's useful, I now think, oh my goodness, they don't need people like that coming in. They need people coming in like me, but they need people to come in and help people understand the reality of it. People that are not getting auditions have had everything put in place to mean that they should be able to get auditions and are not working. That is something that just was not done for us at all. So even though I knew it was going to be difficult, I was still like, right, okay, well, everyone like, okay, I have to go on 20 auditions before I get a job. I never thought about what would happen if I wasn't getting the auditions in the first place. So yeah. And then obviously lockdown hit, and I think for me as an actor at the time, I kind of that took a bit of pressure off, because I was like, no one's working, or very few people are working. And it kind of made me think, okay, right, well, when the industry opens back up again, when things start being filmed again or theatres open, then maybe they'll be willing to look a little bit more at some of the people who haven't been seen for a while. And if anything, from my experience anyway, I think it almost had the opposite effect, because over lockdown people were still auditioning, but it was all done, like I just said before, via self-tape, which is basically a recorded audition in your own home that you send in. And I know for a fact since lockdown, even now things have opened up again, self-tapes are still being used a hell of a lot more. So instead of them usually saying, right, we'll bring 50 people in for an in-person audition, nowadays I think a lot of what's happening is they're saying, oh well, if we're just getting people to self-tape, let's ask 100 of them to self-tape, and if they don't like the first line of your self-tape, they might go right next, and then you've put in all that work that never even gets watched. So I think there's pros and cons to the digital side of the acting industry. I'm just taking off some of these bottom leaves because I feel like they're not serving the plant well. And the last job that I actually auditioned before lockdown, and then we had a date, and then lockdown pushed it forward to the point that the script had to be cut right down. I did a short horror film in, where was it? I feel like it was in Wales or somewhere. But anyway, we had the best time. It was so much fun. Honestly, I hadn't acted in ages, let alone during lockdown. So there was a week where we were out of lockdown and we were like, right, go. So we all went up there. We had, oh my goodness, so many weird things about that one. But we had the weirdest digs. We were staying in this place that I'm so sure was haunted. Me and the other guy who was playing my partner in it, we stayed in this weird little old, I'm pretty sure, haunted house. And all of the pictures had faces on them, like they were like old oil paintings, and all of them had really creepy faces on them. And they would always like, it was one of those things where like you could move and it would look like the eyes were watching you all the time. And I was really freaked out to the point that I had to take them all off the wall in my bedroom, because I was like, I don't want them watching me. And then when he was wrapped on his stuff, he left and I was still there filming for the next few days, and I was there all by myself and I was absolutely terrified. So that was, I mean, it was a fun experience, but it was just a bit freaky. But yeah, that's the the last official acting job that I did, and as I say, it's just a little short film, but it was a really, I didn't know at the time it would be my last for now, but it was a really nice, fun one to end on. If it was, also I was going to say, I'm just going to pop this back up in the same pot because I've divided loads of the little babies and I think that'll be fine. And then yeah, coming back to the real world after that job, I just got Yoli as well. I actually got Yoli when I was on that job and I wasn't able to be there to meet her at first, so I was gutted about that, but got back, met Yoli. She'd just come over from Greece because she's a Greek rescue, and then went back to absolutely zero auditions. And as I started saying before I interrupted myself, me and my friend had written to all these casting directors, agents, all that sort of stuff, and nothing was coming back whatsoever. As I say, this was over lockdown. I was furloughed from my day job at that point, and that is when I decided to start TheJungleHaven, my shop at the time, and that was just a lovely creative thing to do. And I don't know if I thought it'd be temporary, but I think I thought that hopefully at some point it would replace my other day jobs that I didn't like. I've been doing that for quite a while. I mean, a good probably 8 months or so, and then my ex said to me, why don't you get on YouTube? And there's something, it's weird, there's something so different. And I think, so firstly, there's a few things. There's something so incredibly different about doing this and doing acting, for example, because so many people are like, oh, it must be so easy, you trained as an actor to do YouTube. And I'm like, it's really not, because, whoa, that's a low plane. Whoa, that's another low plane. Because obviously when you're acting, you're never playing yourself. Also, the one thing that we're always taught and has been drilled into me for so many years is never look at the camera. And I know the camera lens is there, but I don't know, it creates this like weird reaction in me whenever I start speaking to the camera, and I'm sure it looks more like I'm looking at you now. I find myself just getting really flustered and I feel like I'm doing the wrong thing. And when I look just to the side of the camera, it makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm able to just kind of talk more openly, if that makes any sense at all. I know I do need to train myself to start looking at the camera lens more. Unless I've got a script, I find that quite difficult, and nowadays I don't really script any of my videos, I just jump in and chat. But yeah, so I think for me, starting doing YouTube videos was such a good way to build my confidence a little bit, to allow myself to, I want to say, like, take up space a bit more, because that's one thing, and to be honest, I think that's one thing I should have done way more when I was acting as well, is just not be afraid to take up space. And I know when I watch my first YouTube video back now, I'm like, oh my goodness, I was terrified. Although I was kind of just speaking, I feel like I was almost beneath the surface apologizing for everything I was saying. And I'm like, I don't know, nowadays I find it so much easier to just be like, cool, if people don't like it, they can leave my channel. But back then I was so concerned that people were going to be like, no, she's saying the wrong thing, she doesn't know what she's talking about, she's weird. So I got so in my own head about that, and that's why I think this has been really good for me. But I'm going like round in circles here. I haven't structured or planned this video, but I think, yeah, at that point when we'd sent out all the emails, nothing was coming back. It had been months and this video still only had 2 or 3 plays on it. And I was like, oh my God, again, all of this work, months worth of work for absolutely nothing. I was also close to reaching monetization on YouTube at that point, and I was editing all the time. So I was like, maybe at some point I could start treating YouTube as a bit of a job, because honestly, I absolutely love, I know it's like content creating, but I absolutely love making these videos. I love chatting about plants. It is the most therapeutic, lovely, amazing thing for me. And although, no, it doesn't give me the same buzz as standing on stage at the Globe and feeling the roar of the crowd, nothing will ever replace that feeling. But I feel like this is more of a consistent feeling, like the satisfaction I get from getting a video done, being able to just talk about what I love and not feel bad if I spend hours taking care of my plants, because I know I'm not wasting time because it's part of my job now, all that sort of stuff. I had always said to myself, if I could ever, having had obviously a rocky time in the industry, if I could ever find something that made me as happy and was more stable as acting, then I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in an absolute heartbeat, because it's just such an unpredictable industry. There's a lot of it that I really don't like very much as well. I know they're putting a lot more things in place now to kind of help actors and their mental health and all that sort of stuff, but there's a lot of things that I've personally experienced that are incredibly destructive. I'm not saying that's all of it, because there's a lot of amazing things in that world as well. But I think if you're not in the best headspace anyway, it can be quite destructive, and it can be really crushing if you're not ready to kind of take that. And as I say, nobody can prepare you for it until you're actually in it. No, I'm going round in circles, and I know I also just said that, but I said to myself at that point, when I didn't get any responses back from anything like that, I said, right, if I'm still feeling this way in 5 months' time and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll start doing editing and YouTubing full time, then I will consider leaving my agent. And I know a lot of people have said things like, well, why do you need to leave your agent? Like, why can't you just keep your agent and take on the acting jobs as and when they come in? Yes, I could do that, and that was kind of my plan to start with, but seeing as I've built up this kind of weird thing for myself now, I feel like I want to be 100% in it. I don't want to feel like I've got other things that could potentially come in and take me out of my flow, or I get a month's acting job, which means that I step away from all of this for a month and then I have to kind of build it back up again by myself. It's not right now what I think I need. There's a big part of me that still wants it, but it's just not what I think is good for me right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it all. And despite what I'm doing now maybe not giving me the same incredible high as some of the moments would when I was acting, it's more of like, it's more of a stable, happy buzz that I get from everything I'm doing at the moment, which acting was the highs and the lows, and the lows would make you feel so terrible, but when you got your high, it would all pay off and you'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to stop this. It's just the most incredible thing in the world. Okay, no, I don't have that with what I've got now, but I think that's a lot healthier. I think I am more stable as a person. I have got more of a sense of self. I have complete and utter freedom to explore who I am. Not that I didn't when I was acting, but you were limited by certain things. Like, you couldn't, a very silly example to use, but you couldn't like go out and dye your hair pink or anything like that, because what if a period drama audition comes in? And now I'm kind of like, I mean, I've only left my agent last month, a couple of months ago, last month I think. And I'm kind of thinking like, oh, like this is the first time that I feel like I could do anything. I wouldn't have to think about, oh God, but what if I get this audition, or da 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 da. Kind of want to dye my hair pink, to be honest, but it's definitely a world that I do not want to step away from forever. As I said at the beginning, it's a passion that has never died in me. I sound so dramatic. God, I'm such an actor. But it's a passion that has never dwindled or died for a second. I just don't think this is the right time for me. And what I really hope in an ideal world is that I get to the point where I can still be doing planty things all the time, and then, I don't know, in a few years' time, whenever it happens, and then still be auditioning and find a nice balance with that feels right for me. I'm just playing everything by ear at the moment, but it was honestly such a huge decision for me to say, right, for now, that's that, because as I say, I never thought I would be the one to give up. I thought that no matter what, I would be the one sticking out to the end. I remember chatting to a woman from RADA who said that her friend had been on the 3-year course with her, had trained and left, and was now a policewoman. And again, young brain that doesn't know anything and has never experienced anything in that world. I was just like, oh my goodness, why would you go to RADA and then become a police officer? And it just goes to show. It just goes to show how you don't know until you've actually lived it. But yeah, I mean, I need to start getting back to the theatre and stuff like that, to be honest. I used to go to the theatre every single week. I had loads of, this is when I was living in London, I had loads of passes. I'd queue up for cheap tickets at like 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I could get them. And it's still, I mean, to be honest, I love TV and film, and I really do love TV and film, but theatre for me is kind of where it all started, and I have got such a love for theatre that I have really neglected in these last, well, I mean, this last year. I am going to see Matilda the musical soon, which, I mean, I'm not particularly a musical, am I a musical person? Yeah, I guess maybe I am a musical person. I would never say that I was, but yeah, I'm going to see Matilda the musical, so that's the start. And then my friend's doing a show in London in about 3 weeks' time, so I'm going to go see that. And I'm just really excited to, as I say, get back into the buzz of it again and feel comfortable in what I'm doing now and not feel like I'm mourning it, because I do a little bit feel still like less so now, I guess, but like I think at first like I was losing a part of my identity, because ever since I was very, very young, it would always be, hello, I'm Claire and I'm an actor. And it becomes part of who you are. It becomes part of your identity. And that, I think, has been the hardest thing to let go of. And whenever I see my friends that are still in the industry, ones that are consistently working, ones that are doing amazing things, I am so unbelievably happy for them. And I wouldn't say jealous, because I am fulfilled doing what I'm doing now. But there's that little part of me that's just like, oh, like longing to be in their shoes. But as I say, it wasn't my time. And I don't want that to be like a downer, like this whole video be like I failed. But I am honestly so happy doing what I'm doing now. And it was completely my decision to step away, and it did feel like the right decision at the time. As I say, I said to myself, I'll sit on this for a few months. If I'm still feeling that way, then I'll do it, in terms of leaving my agent. And it did feel right. It did feel right. And although I felt sad, I also kind of felt weirdly liberated. So I know that I've made the right decision. But yeah, I know that was probably just a blah, blah, blah of words and me waffling, and yeah, but I hope it was enjoyable to some of you. I hope it was fun to listen to. Like, by all means, fire any questions my way if you've got any. But yeah, I haven't spoken about any of that for a very long time, so it's kind of nice doing it in a planty way. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.